Alright, so I guess it's time to talk about The Crow with Bill Skarsgard and FKA Twigs. I feel like I need to preface this video by saying I grew up with the original Crow with Brandon Lee. So I am a little biased. But I did go into this with a clear mind and convince myself this is a complete reboot. It's a modern reimagining, not going to compare it to the original. And I think I did a good job of that. But there are areas where you can't help but to compare certain things. The Crow essentially is a love story. A very strong love story. And Brandon Lee portrayed that so incredibly. His emotions were so strong on screen that it was incredibly convincing. I mean, you felt it. In this one, again, still has to be a love story. That's what brings the Crow to, the dead soul, to bring them back and blah, blah, blah. I didn't feel that strong love story in here. I wasn't convinced that Eric and Shelley were madly in love in this film. That's the part that was the hardest for me to swallow. The movie itself wasn't horrible. I expected a lot worse. I'll be honest. I expected way worse. Bill Skarsgard is a phenomenal actor. I love Bill Skarsgard. And he does really well. But it takes two to make a love story work. Bill Skarsgard did a pretty good job. I don't think he did as good a job as Brandon Lee. But he did a pretty good job. I was not convinced of Shelley's character whatsoever. None at all. Like, I did not feel like this actress, if she's even an actress, FKA Twigs, I mean, isn't she like a musical artist? I don't feel like her acting worked in here at all. There was no emotion in her character, which just basically led to the fact of not convincing me that they're in love. I mean, and that's the whole premise of this movie. So on that front, I feel like it failed. There were action scenes that were really good, though there's a lot more blood in here than I expected. But then again, I kind of did expect it with the trailer. It was kind of gory. But it's definitely a much more bloodier, gorier version of The Crow than Brandon Lee's. And I think to make this movie work, again, you had to tell the story well, and I don't think the story was told well. The cinematics were good, the CGI was good, there were some things going for this movie, but I wasn't taking any of it in. The pacing was off too. The pacing was up and down and in and out, and I wasn't sure. One minute I'm enjoying it, next minute I'm not. It's just all over the place. I don't think it was paced well at all. One of the things that took me out of it the most was the fact that when he turns into the Crow, he goes over to, I guess, the land of the dead, and he's got this instructor, and he's instructing him on how to be the Crow. And I get he needs to understand what his powers are and things like that, but he doesn't do a very good job of being the Crow at first. Like, he's got to do it a couple times. Like, it doesn't work. He doesn't embrace the character. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not that Bill Skarsgård doesn't embrace the character. Eric doesn't embrace who he is. And that's kind of hard to swallow, considering he's supposed to be like a figure of revenge. And it just doesn't feel like it. Then we got the bad guy, played by Danny Houston, who I do like him as an actor as well. But it wasn't a very good villain. He didn't really invoke any threatening behavior, other than the fact that they gave him these weird paranormal powers, which I don't think fit. It was kind of weird. I mean, if you think about it enough, I guess we can find a way to make it fit, but it doesn't fit. It feels like a stretch. I believe they could have figured something else to do with this guy, made him a drug lord kingpin, similar to what the original one was, or some other crime lord of some sort. But this guy that they tried to give paranormal powers to, it feels forced, and it doesn't feel like anybody really understands what's going on. Now, I said I wasn't going to compare too much to the original, and I'm trying not to. But the one thing I have to compare is the score and the soundtrack in the movie, because that played a major role in the film. In this one, there wasn't much of a soundtrack. I mean, they tried to fit songs in, and when they did, they felt forced. It didn't feel like it flowed with the moment. And then there was a big scene that I can hear it in my head, the original, playing a bad rock song while this big fight scene is going down. And in this one, we got the most awkward, weird sounding score. It made a comical relief out of this. One of the biggest, baddest fight scenes in this movie, and they made a comical relief out of it simply with the score. Had they put something harder in there, like a rock song or a metal song or something with power behind it? No, they used, spoiler alert, they did it to opera. Opera. Okay, spoilers over. Why would you do that? Why? It really made it feel like a circus act. I mean, this movie, it could have been a lot better with little changes. And I feel like they destroyed it with the little changes or the little choices they made for the film. I'm sure some of you out there are going to enjoy this movie. And, I hope you do. I do. I'm not going to sit here and bash a movie and say it's horrible for everybody. It's not. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are going to enjoy this. I just wasn't that audience. I wasn't. I was hoping for something a little better, only because of Bill Skarsgard. Unfortunately, that failed. But if you did see it, let me know what your comments are down below. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. Drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button on your way out, and I'll see you at the concession stands.